Well, this film got started when my wife and I had a baby girl, and my wife wanted to take her back to Romania to meet her mother. So she'd be gone about a month. Phoned up my friend Jeff Pierce.
When you were writing a book, you were basically God. You can set the universe how you please. I've written right now up to something like 8 novels.
And I said, okay, you got to write me this story. Virtually no dialogue, and we came up with this idea that it should be just a big chase movie.
Where he didn't have to worry about the production details of the sound and a bunch of other details. And I said, okay, that basically renders the writer a scenarist, like something like out of a silent movie, because he doesn't have to give too much credence to dialogue. The problem with that is now you have a challenge because you're going, okay, how do I tell a story just through movement and gestures and expression?
I think it was almost easier for me to play this role without having a lot of dialogue. Um, I have a background in physical theater where we did a lot of scenes with movement without any dialogue and just trying to capture an emotion or a feeling. So having worked like that before in New York on several productions, it just kind of came easily to me.
Because we want it so streamlined down, I came up with these 3 characters and had to boil down the issues to something very essential, which is what you see in the film. You have that MacGuffin of the drug. You have basically, people who are running around, but there's not a lot of infrastructure behind them. When it comes right down to it, if you look at, say, the Bourne Identity, it's the guy versus this huge super spy system. If you look at, say, our movie, you got Gwen versus Peter versus Henga, and there's not a lot of apparatus behind them. They're in their own little world within the world, but it's just them relying on their own resources, which is what we wanted.
One thing I think we all found interesting about this film, about the script, about Jeff's script, was that
O you who believe.
in a world that was still very much post 9/11, we created a Muslim character who was actually the hero. Not the villain, not a terrorist. He was the hero of the film. His background, his religion, his faith was not a focus of the film. Why should it be? He is who he is. And it's the character you want to explore, not the faith.
He was such a deep character in terms of where he's come from. His world was so different now. He's in isolation in North America, right? His culture is not with him. He has a very small group of people that he associates with, okay? And so there was this sad part of him, this longing that he cannot touch. There's
But I cannot catch them all.
he a part of Henga that wants to see justice,
I will not catch them all.
right?
And in the
he's
blink of an eye,
is after bad people.
smart.
Basically, he's trying to protect not only his
okay,
family
really.
but society from the evils that are out there, right? He knows he cannot win, and yet he keeps going, right? So I found that I would have liked to have explored more that internal conflict of him. Like, he's Muslim in a Christian-based society, and the loneliness. Yeah, there's a part of him that was sort of sad, and yet he's such an intelligent man because he sees so much.
Well, you can do wonderful things in terms of a script that you cannot do in terms of a page. If I had to do this as a novel, I would have to explain all about Goran Westwood and all about the pharmaceutical drug and all that. I don't need to do that here. I can go, whoop, there's a drug. And what's more, we would have to get into the backstory of, say, Gwen. We might have to get into the backstory of Peter. But when you're watching the movie, we learn a lot about Muslim Henga. We don't learn a lot about Gwen. We don't learn a lot about Peter. And that's the way it should be. We shouldn't be learning a lot about them. They should be mysteries. And that's completely separate.
Jeff wrote it, so he was the creepy villain.
Okay, there's a huge difference between you writing a movie and you acting in a movie, and especially in your same movie. because it goes back to the God thing. These were my characters, these were my people, and I could move my universe any way I liked. And it's funny because you usually write the script, you pass it on to the director and go, bye-bye, and it's his. And now as the actor, I become the talking prop. It's sort of like somebody saying to me, you go stand there. And you're going, wait a minute. What? Oh, yes, I'm him. And you have to remember, oh, I'm Peter, and I'm playing him. And it was a remarkable experience for me.
For the lead in it, went to a good friend of mine who had met 10 years ago on another film production, and who also turned out to be the godfather of my little girl. That was Edgar.
When I first read the script, I thought, here I am, Jamaican Canadian, who is about to play an Nigerian African. I don't know the language. I've heard the language. I have a few friends who are Nigerian, so what I did was I phoned them up and said, hey, I've got this role, can you help me out? And they went, no. so I begged and pleaded and, read them a couple of passages, and they said, okay, you've got it, but what you need to do is to just relax, and there's a lyrical quality to practically every language, right? So some more so than others. And so I had to get the cadence of the Nigerian language to my understanding. And I was able to do that after a few tries, and that was the beginning of it, right? Did some backstory as far as Nigeria, just to see the political climate, because it affects you as a character, right?
And Jennifer answered an ad. She was the only part we really needed to cast.
I don't even remember how I got involved. It seems like a lifetime ago. I must have responded to a casting notice, because that's usually how I find a role. And I remember Tom and Jeff called me on the phone because they were about to start shooting and they had to replace an actress quite quickly.
We had somebody else on board first who really wasn't all that motivated. Jeff had Jennifer phone me. I'd never met her, did not see what she was like. I had seen a still of her.
Oh, I never auditioned for the role. They had my picture and resume.
Actors 8x10s are not necessarily what actors look like a lot of the time. And I talked to her on the phone, and within 10 minutes I was going, okay, this is Gwen.
And I think it was just from my attitude. They both felt confident that I'd be able to pull off what was needed.
Jennifer had this wonderful combination of sexuality and attitude, which was perfect, was absolutely perfect for Gwen. She made Gwen somebody who, yeah, you may want to get her into bed, but you don't want to be running around the next morning when she kicks your ass.
Gwen is a very feisty character. She's just kind of very determined and, very capable, as we see.
Ultra low budget production, that's the one thing we decided on. Just use what we have, what we know we have. So he sends me the script back. Interior, police headquarters. And Jeff, no, we can't do this. But yes, you can. So after at least a week of haggling with police headquarters in Toronto, they finally said, okay, we'll give you 5 minutes. When I say ultra low budget, what I really mean is we had no budget.
Oh, okay.
For us to do a budget, that implies we had money. I think the sum total that we spent on this film from beginning to end is roughly around $250. It was $200, but then somebody had to go out and buy an extension cord. So
Producing credit came because I provided some resources near the end of the movie when there was, I bought the extension cord.